A few weeks back, my coworkers were trying to find a new game to play together, and throughout the discussion, John Carpenter's Toxic Commando was brought up. The fact that it resembled a new take on the tried and true Left 4 Dead formula piqued my interest, and I agreed to purchase the game to play with them, which honestly kind of blew everyone's mind. See, they all stay up to dark 30 to play games together, at which time I'm typically comfortable in bed in dreamland. So was the purchase worth it? For the most part, yeah. In Toxic Commando, you play as one of 4 mercenaries that are working to eradicate an enemy known as the Sludge. It had been unleashed when a scientist who had been drilling the Earth's core for energy created a means for it to escape. The 4 mercs were on their way to deliver a solution to this problem when they were ambushed by the creatures born of the Sludge, and themselves got infected, kept alive by some sort of harness created by the scientist. I'd go into more details, but truthfully, all you need to know is take out the evil zombified creatures, complete a few objectives, and find a cure for the Sludge. Although you only have 4 characters to choose from, each are just different in cosmetic and one-liners only. However, there are also 4 classes to choose from: Medic, Operator, Striker, and Defender. Each has its pros and cons, but really, the only difference is their perks that can be activated. Each of the 4 classes have their own skill trees, and by leveling each job up, you earn skill points to place on these skill trees. Some perks are available across multiple classes, such as higher ammo limits and the such, but many are also limited to that class, which makes sense due to each class having a distinct purpose during the game. Operators are the preferred drivers, strikers are the offensive-based class, defenders can put up a shield to protect the team, and medics will do the much-needed healing. What's nice is that as you become more proficient with each class, you can alter what the activated job skill will do. For example, at the start, the medic's healing is temporary, with the health slowly decreasing back to original levels. However, upgrade it a bit, and it will get the option to permanently heal the squad at the cost of a much lengthier cooldown. Definitely worth it though. With that said, let's move on to the gameplay itself. If you played Left 4 Dead, or even Zombie Mode in Call of Duty, you'll probably know what to expect. You choose one of 9 stages, navigate the world, and complete objectives until you get to the end of the level, and face a final massive horde of zombies. What's nice is that the stages are semi-open, meaning that you can explore for optional supplies before making a beeline to the objective markers. Your threat is primarily the basic zombie, here called roamers. They fall quickly after just a few shots, but can be a menace if they gang up on you in numbers. There are also plenty of specialized creatures, like the contamination suit wearing skunk, the boomer wannabe nuker, and the pointy tentacle spike. I know the naming isn't the greatest, but I didn't come up with them. The more zombies you kill, the more experience you'll earn for your basic level, your weapons, and your class, so being a bit violent does work in your favor. Because the levels are a bit larger in scale, you can find various vehicles to drive. In a single player game, the AI party won't drive, so you'll need to go behind the wheel often if you wish to travel by car. However, in a multiplayer setting, you can be a willing passenger and call shotgun, leaning out of the window and shooting at passing undead pedestrians. Also, depending on the vehicle you are in, there may be a mounted weapon available. However, ammo is not unlimited. You can find more in the world though, so again, be sure to explore. The catch to the vehicles is that for some reason, you are limited to a third-person view when driving. This is kind of annoying since everything else is done in first person. I don't know why this is forced upon us. I get it, it's easier as a driver to see what is happening around you this way, and if there is a winching point, it's simpler to find. But still, the option to change cameras would have been nice. Since we are given a horn, the camera should have been viable, right? In order to take out the Sludge, there are a healthy selection of weapons available. Assault rifles, SMGs, shotguns, and sniper rifles, as well as your choice of 3 sidearms and a few melee weapons, are available at the start. And if you don't like what you've chosen, you can oftentimes find replacement weapons in the field. Just like the classes, each of the weapons level up individually from use, so keep that trigger held down. In addition, you can find special locked cases. By finding the coveted spare parts, you can open these up to find a powerful weapon to stash in your 4th weapon slot. These weapons are limited to the current level and won't remain with you once the mission is completed, pass or fail. These special firearms typically consist of a 50 cal sniper rifle, a devastating grenade launcher, or Swiss cheese making large machine gun. Personally, I preferred the MG, but maybe you're more of a sniper than I am. No matter what you pick, chances are you're probably going to run out of ammo at some point. I can't stress enough how important it is to remain on the lookout for more bullets, as well as for those spare parts. That's because these parts can also repair down stationary weapons and defensive structures like barbed wire, mortars, or MGs. It's fun to use the MGs at the end of the level during the final hordes. However, the MG overheats way too quickly for my liking. The heat gauge rises rapidly, and it feels like it takes forever for it to cool down enough for you to bother using it again. Another thing to be looking out for are the various orange and purple crystals in the world. The orange crystals are arguably more important as they are used for upgrading your weapons. This includes all of your standard stuff: larger capacity clips, better sights, foregrips, and so on. The reason why you want to collect as much as possible is that these attachments are stupidly expensive. You'll feel that you are being price gouged, but sadly, you'll have to pay these exorbitant fees if you want your weapon to get more efficient at mowing down the sludge. At least there is an area that you can try out all of your munitions before deciding on a loadout for a level. Between each mission, you return to Leon's base where you can play around with your weapons, change your class or character, or even customize your profile. It's a neat touch, and a nice way to take a breather before the next adventure. Overall, Toxic Commando is fun, but there are a few problems with the game. For one, the loading times are a bit extreme. Don't be surprised if the game takes an excessive time to load the next stage. It's not a game breaker, but in 2026 this feels a bit unusual. Secondly, the missions are fairly repetitive. That's not to say Left 4 Dead wasn't repetitive. I mean, in that game, you literally go from point A to point B shooting all zombies in the way. Even though Toxic Commando's levels are a bit more open, really the gameplay hasn't changed much. Sure, you'll explore for supplies for a bit, but when you get down to it, the core experience hasn't changed any. Go to point A after exploring side routes D and E, take out a few random hordes, go to point B, kill another horde, proceed to point C, and kill the final surge. Repeat. I'm not saying this isn't fun, but it needed to be said. But the biggest problem is that unless you have friends to play with, the game may not be as enjoyable solo. That's because if you're stuck with computerized pals, well, they're brain dead. Seriously, the AI in this game is abysmal. They'll often get in the way of your shots, pop healing abilities at questionable times, and may just ignore what's going on around them. I got to this area where you have to defend a truck, and I'm manning an MG. I don't see many zombies, there's a guy standing next to me not even batting an eye, and yet the truck's durability is steadily decreasing at alarming levels. Sure enough, I take a peek on the other side of the truck, and there is a sea of undead just obliterating it. Bam! Mission failed because my 3 teammates weren't programmed to hunt down any nearby threat, even though it should have been as obvious to them as it was to me that zombies come from all fronts. This is absolutely aggravating, since failing a mission this way functions the same as dying, and you lose all of the crystals that you have accumulated. I do also have one last thing to add before we wrap up this review. Although the game looks fine and all, every one of the stages has a very samey look, which is okay I guess, considering that it builds the atmosphere of the world. However, I can't help but notice that the art direction seems to take a heavy influence from Stranger Things. Right from the start, you see an enormous wall protecting the lab, there's a dark, foreboding world to journey through, and there's lots of tentacles and black ooze. Kinda like the Upside Down, right? I couldn't help but think that if Stranger Things became a game, this could be one of the levels in that frightening place. With that said though, I did have an enjoyable time with Toxic Commando, especially with friends. It's not anything that's going to blow your mind, but it is a fun way to kill some times with friends if you just want to run around killing zombies mindlessly. If you want to tackle it solo, just be forewarned that you'll probably be shouldering the majority of the objective burdens. And hey, at least the game is full of cringy 80s one-liners, right? Final score? 5 out of 7. And special thanks to Dan, Mike, Brian, and Julius, since they kinda helped me with the multiplayer footage of the game. This is Reaper. Happy fragging.